Caitlin Clark's final offer from the Big Three is $15 million for 10 games. Did Caitlin Clark decline $15 million? That's a boss move, I see. Caitlin Clark received a final offer from the Big Three of $15 million for 10 games. According to reports, the Big Three offered Caitlin. She refused to accept Clark's 15M for 10 games. The top three reportedly offered $5 million to participate in the league this season, according to a leak on Wednesday. 10 games. $5 million a year for 2 years, and we were going to do some fun things with merchandise, you know? Additionally, the Big Three made headlines this morning after TMZ revealed that they had offered Caitlin Clark $5 million. Caitlin Clark stunned the sports world once more 2 minutes ago when she rejected Ice Cub's enormous $15 million Big Three offer. She is once again demonstrating that her allegiance cannot be purchased with money. Did Caitlin Clark decline $15 million? That's a boss move, I see. It's a wild boss move, I see. It's a flex. Many fans were taken aback by the Big Three's final offer to Caitlin Clark, a whopping $15 million for just 10 games, believing that Clark's arrival would change the Big Three. Ice Cubs League began negotiations at $5 million and ultimately increased the offer 3 times. This is Ken Clark's last offer from the Big Three, $15 million for 10 games. And here's the main three discussing it in their tattooed voices. 15. I assumed she was 5 years old. No, 15 after it began at 5 o'clock, correct? However, $15 million for 10 weeks was the official final offer. However, Clark declined to sign even though the money may change his life. Many were left wondering why she would turn down a sum that was significantly higher than her WNBA pay. I'm curious about Caitlin Clark's true income. I believe that she has to pay to attend some of those sessions in person. For 30 minutes, it is comparable to $200,000. She was performing 2 and 3 of those each week. We know that her NBA and WNBA salaries are nothing to brag about. Therefore, she must be willing to turn down endorsement agreements that are very nice. According to reports, Ice Cubs Major Three offered Caitlin Clark an incredible $15 million, which she declined. She made it plain that her loyalties was elsewhere, even though the deal would have paid her more than most professional athletes. In such a short period of time, Caitlin Clark reportedly turned down the Big Three's offer of 15 M's for 10 games. According to reports, Caitlin Clark rejected $15 million. Dude, 15. Only someone with Clark's growing influence could turn down such an offer, according to commentators who referred to it as a mad boss move. Her choice demonstrated how much she prioritizes her long-term career over quick money. She declined, of course, but have a look. Additionally, we have a brief clip to play. Caitlin Clark received a final offer of $1 million for 10 games from the Big Three. Insiders from the Big Three acknowledged that Caitlin Clark received a last offer of $15 million for a brief 10-hour period, publicly confirming it. The voice of the Big Three emphasized how much the league desired her star power. However, Clark left, refusing to take part. Her ejection made it clear that she couldn't leave the WNBA at this time for whatever amount of money, discouraging Ice Cube and his league idea. Caitlin Clark received a final offer from the Big Three of $15 million for 10 games. I'm not sure if they play off the top of my head if they participated in more than 1 game per week, but keep that in mind. For 4 years in the WNBA, she received $338,000. I am aware of her high income now. I believe she earned $11 million, $1 million, while Caitlin Clark was getting ready for the championship. Ice Cube first told her about the $5 million Big Three offer. He claimed that although the purchase was momentous and meant to be kept confidential, the sports world was surprised when it was revealed. The offer was significantly more than her rookie WNBA salary of less than $80,000. Nevertheless, Clark expressed her disinterest in Ice Cube's league, a statement that reverberated throughout the basketball community. Caitlin Clark, a probable WNBA #1 overall choice, will participate in when the news broke. Ice Cube got on Twitter to confirm it. I believe the league will play 10 games this season, including 8 regular season games and 2 possible playoff games. However, given the current rookie wage for the top pick, the $5 million is far more than Clark and other WNBA rookies will get this season. Choices for this season at just about $80,000. You are our resident authority on all things. $1 Biloxi for Caitlin Clark. The Big Three had even negotiated a long-term contract, 2 years at $5 million annually, with extra benefits like product discounts and a portion off collective ownership. Ice Cube thought her arrival would increase the league's appeal overall, but Clark turned him down once more. In addition to denying Ice Cube her big-name signing, the rejection demonstrated her disinterest in being used as a PR ploy for the Big Three, $5 million a year for 2 years. Additionally, we were going to do some great things with merchandise, and I believe he even discussed team ownership and percentage. We believe she will enter the Big Three. So, we were going to. TMZ reported that the Big Three formally made Caitlin Clark a $5 million offer while she was still in college. This would be such a huge deal that, all boats would rise, and the league would benefit from the exposure. A Cube of Ice intended to capitalize on her record-breaking popularity in order to entice her before she completely committed to the WNBA. She proceeded with her initial career path after Clark's stern rejection. Ice Cube said that the offer was intended to be private, but the public aspect of the transaction humiliated him. The Big Three made headlines this morning after TMZ revealed that they had offered Caitlin Clark $5 million. Oh, I see. Caitlin Clark, the Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball phenom, has undoubtedly shattered we all presume she's going to the WNBA because of her college basketball record. Wait a second, why don't we also make a $5 million offer? We wanted the offer to stay confidential while Caitlin Clark competes for the championship, the Big Three said. Commentators emphasize that Caitlin Clark already earns millions from her endorsements, therefore she doesn't need Ice Cube's $15 million. From 30-minute signing sessions that cost $200,000 to deals like Panini that allegedly brought in at least her income is on another level. She made $1 million in a single day. In terms of fan purchasing power, Clark's collaborations with Wilson and Stanley Cups also place her on par with international superstars like Taylor Swift. It seems like she had to pay to attend some of those sessions in person. $200,000 for half an hour. Caitlin made a ton of money on the minimum Panini arrangement. In a single day, they sold about 5 million of her products. On the Pine deal, she earned at least $1 million. The price to acquire Caitlin Clark, in my opinion, is the cents. Caitlin Clark fans will purchase anything featuring her face, your product's face, such as Stanley and other items, most likely resembles LeBron. Taylor Swift's endorsement of the Stanley Cup essentially clarified why Clark was able to decline Ice Cub's offer with the hesitation. Her brand strength was further cemented when she launched a product line and commercial that went viral right away. Sneaker sales similar to the CC ones were already imminent, and fans waited in queue for her stuff. With steady sources of income, Clark demonstrated that a brief Big Three contract could never provide her with the security that her company empire does. The new Stanley Cup contract for Stanley Caitlin Clark. It's incredible. I have to go get my cup now. I was able to retrieve my Stanley Cup and t-shirt. Man, you already know they have a variety of mugs. I just must have my Stanley. Man, I really need my Stanley. Caitlin Clark going on to rake in the boatload of transactions. This kind of thing. She is able to decline $15 million from Ice Cube in the Big Three because of things like these. Caitlin Clark managed to win huge endorsement deals despite her injury, demonstrating the value of her brand alone. in addition to her collection of well-known contracts with Gatorade and Nike. She just signed with Stanley. Beyond basketball, her branded lines, images, and videos went viral on social media. Ice's record-breaking endorsements make her Cubs' $15 million look modest in comparison. This brand has signed Caitlin Clark as a major sponsor. And sure, dude, let's get started on this immediately. Thus, this is the current. These small pictures are becoming viral on the internet. Caitlin Clark is wearing some Nike clothing and these Stanley cups. I believe this silhouette is really awesome, man. These pictures, analysts pointed out that Caitlin Clark earned over $11 million in 2024. Alone, thanks to endorsements from major corporations like Stanley. Her portfolio continues to expand. Refusing to accept $15 million from Ice Cubs' Big Three doesn't hurt with that kind of cash. Her money. In actuality, it demonstrated that she can advance her profession and income without his league. Consider that for 4 years in the WNBA, she received $338,000. I am aware of her high income now. I believe she earned $11 million. Due to all of her endorsements, $1 million will be in 2024. I noticed that Stanley had just given her his endorsement. Oh, the ridiculously expensive cups. Indeed, even while discussing the top three, commentators acknowledged that Clark can create with endorsements. $5 million was readily removed from the court. Playing in Ice Cube's harsh league poses physical risks, but her commercial endeavors are far safer and more lucrative. This fact explains why she would never jeopardize her health in order to receive a quick pay. Check when she outside of basketball games. It already commands millions. If she had played in the WNBA, the only thing that people would have been talking about would have been that the Big Three would have likely received more recognition and publicity, which is something I can only admire as a businessman. Aiming for the heavens, reaching for the moon. So, except from that, I didn't receive any complaints. Just so we could see how she would compare to those older retired NBA players, I wish she had accepted. The moment of the Caitlin Clark would have to miss a whole season if she joined the Ice Cubes league because the Big Three season conflicts directly with the WNBA. It was likened by analysts to Diana Taurasi, would quit the WNBA in her prime in order to earn more money abroad. However, Clark's choice was distinct, rejecting Ice Cubs' $15 million. She reaffirmed her commitment to the WNBA by refusing to abandon it. The WNBA season features the Big Three. She would need to take a year off from playing in the WNBA. And I believe that what we observed, Taurasi left the WNBA during her peak to play in Russia for a year because the Russian team paid her more than she would have in the WNBA. In my opinion, she earned roughly $20 million last year. She must have been earning at least $15 million on her own for her to decline. $15 million at least endorsements. She made at least $15 million last year. But there are certainly situations where if you take the Big Three contract and it doesn't work out, your hype dies and you're losing money. Lisa Leslie described how Clark's persistent injury increased the risk of the Big Three's $15 million offer. Her illness would have gotten worse playing in such a physically demanding league. Endangering her future in the WNBA, her refusal became even more obvious in light of that fact. Clark put her long-term well-being and professional security ahead of Ice Cubs' immediate funds. Her choice demonstrated wisdom and vision well beyond her years. Now, let's listen to Lisa Leslie's thoughts. Since I had suffered the injury in 2006, I truly feel bad for Caitlin Clark. To ensure that there was sufficient pressure to hold that groin, I was heavily taped around my thigh and glute. The difficult aspect is that the groin is a deep-seated place that you can't simply touch and say, "Oh, it hurts right here." You need to rest and receive a lot of deep treatment, including heat and ice. Since Caitlin Clark is in the middle of her season, she is unable to find much relaxation at this time. However, I believe that damage is particularly difficult because it persists regardless of how much medication you take. You're okay. You return to the world. One step, one direction. Shift, and suddenly you're experiencing the same kind of pain again. She will therefore have to deal with a difficult injury, control, despite her injury. Caitlin Clark's return to the WNBA playoffs was a topic of discussion among fans and commentators. Her supporters contended that her presence could propel the Indiana Fever to the championship game, demonstrating her value to the league. This increasing dependence on Clark demonstrates her refusal to leave the WNBA for the Big Three. She represents women's basketball regardless of Ice Cube's offer. Many people are saying that Caitlin Clark shouldn't return. If you guys don't get it, Caitlin Clark has a huge influence on this basketball team. They qualify for the playoffs if Caitlin Clark returns this year. Are you aware that they were not able to attend the S? That's the extent of her influence. Had. Do I think they make it? They have a very good chance of reaching the final this year if Caitlin Clark returns. But until Kate returns, we won't know. Now, for every one of there are some haters who are saying that she shouldn't return, bro. She should definitely return right away. Caitlin Clark has maintained her professionalism in the face of persistent harassment, jealousy, and abuse from certain WNBA players. She continues to elevate the league's profile, boosting attendance and TV ratings. Rejecting. Ice Cub's $15 million wasn't just about money. It was also about staying loyal to a league that desperately needs her influence. Without Clark, the one wouldn't be experiencing its current surge. Despite being abused, despite being torn down, despite being attacked verbally and physically, over and over and over again, despite being hated by the players, she has done everything she could possibly do to elevate the WNBA to help every single other player in Valley get paid more money. To help with attendance and growing the game, she has done everything that she could possibly do despite the absolute hatred, despite the absolute jealousy, despite the absolute lies. Ice Cube admitted that Caitlin Clark's stardom was the sole reason they offered her millions. He said sponsors believed only she could unlock that kind of money for the Big Three. But because she turned it down, it exposed how dependent Ice Cub's plan was on Clark's name alone. Her rejection showed that she didn't want to be Uzita's business pawn for his league. It was just to unlock, millions of dollars for the league because of her stardom. What our sponsors was telling us, right? They didn't tell us this something about Angel Reese, so I don't know if we can make that. I don't know if we can make that offer. I see maybe an adjusted amount. When asked if the offer still stood, Big Three representatives admitted they had already moved on. They revealed her team never truly engaged with the deal and that her agents hated on it. This cold response underlined how firm Clark's rejection was. She was never going to join Ice Cub's project, no matter how high the offer went. We moved on. We see that she is focused on the WNBA. We really didn't get great engagement from the offer from their team. I think the agents was hating on it a little bit. We worried about, the players that we have. We think we're going to have our best season. Analysts broke down exactly why Caitlin Clark could turn down $15 million from Ice Cube without regret. Her endorsements already earn her incredible sums. Appearance fees reach as high as $200,000 for only 30 minutes. And she often does multiple per week. The Panini car deal alone netted her at least $1 million in a single day. Like some of those talks, apparently a cost for her to go in person. It's like $200 grand for 30 minutes. Caitlin made a ton of money on the minimum Panini arrangement. In a single day, they sold about 5 million of her products. She made $1 million minimum on the Pan deal. I would say the expense to acquire Caitlin Clark as the face of your product in terms of like Stanley and everything is probably equal to LeBron because the Caitlin Clark fans will buy anything with Caitlin Clark's face on it. It's like Taylor. Swift type Clark's Stanley Cup partnership further emphasizes her financial freedom. The launch included a commercial, numerous designs, and soon turned into a hot product, indicating how much influence she holds. On top of that, her distinctive sneakers, the CC ones, were already in the works, ensuring another wave of income. Commentators remark that accords like this provide Clark the opportunity to walk away from BIG3’s. $15 million without difficulty. She views endorsements as a source of consistent long-term wealth. Whereas Ice Cub's offer was only temporary, with hefty strings fastened. The new Stanley Cup contract for Caitlin Clark. It's incredible. I have to go get my cup now. I need to grab my Stanley Cup and my t-shirt. Man, you already know they have a variety of mugs. I just must have my Stanley. Man, I really need my Stanley. Caitlin Clark is still making a ton of money from deals. It's this kind of thing. She is able to decline $15 million from Ice Cube and the BIG3 because of things like this. According to reports, Caitlin Clark made more than $11 million in 2024 just from endorsements. Her recent agreement with the Stanley Cups was only one of many upcoming business opportunities in her direction, refusing to accept $15 million from Ice Cub's BIG3 doesn't feel like a risk when you're already earning tens of millions annually. It feels like smart business. Clark is creating a long-lasting empire, but the BIG3 offer was just a publicity stunt. This made her reject. On even more powerful, consider that. For 4 years in the WNBA, she received $338,000. I am aware of her high income now. I guess she made $11 million, due to all of her endorsements. $1 million will be in 2024. I noticed that Stanley had just given her his endorsement. Oh, the ridiculously expensive cups. Sorry to anyone who likes Stanley, but that's insane what people would pay for toes. But anyway, as you can see here, the BIG3's final offer. So I wanna play this clip for you and talk about it a little bit because this is commentators directly admitted. Caitlin Clark could make $5 million off the court without ever touching a basketball. She will always have opportunities that surpass what the BIG3 could provide thanks to her strong brand. Clark decided to concentrate on secure and lucrative endorsements rather than jeopardizing her health in a competitive league. This rejection wasn't about disrespecting Ice Cube, it was about safeguarding her already enormous wealth, her career, and her body. $15 million was insufficient to make a difference for someone in her situation. $1 million playing in the WNBA? So take this little 5 right here. Just like 10 games of your regular season and then gone on. Hey, and she going to make that 5 off the court for sure? Yes, absolutely. For them to give her only $5 million? Case, I am able to earn at least $5 million. I think she'll worth more than $5 million to go do something like that. $5 million in 2 weeks. She ain't worth $5 million in 2 weeks. I mean, two months? That TV deal doesn't happen if Caitlin Clark isn't commanding the league. If she takes a super senior season, it's not $200 million a year. Let's be real. Caitlin Clark is the primary reason the league is in its current position. That TV contract doesn't materialize if Caitlin Clark is not command that league. Caitlin Clark accepts a super senior season, that TV deal is not $200 million, it's just not. It is not $200 million a year. Caitlin Clark takes a super senior season if unrivaled Caitlin Clark, y'all. The minimum is $10 million plus 50% ownership. That's the starting point. Unrivaled. If y'all thought a few million and some equity was going to get her to show up and play in your league, you got another thing coming. I said it. Unrivaled one, Caitlin Clark, y'all, the minimum of $10 million. Plus like 50% ownership of the whole league. That's where we start. Player salaries are going to go down. This league is not sustainable. When you look at the reality of what's going on, the player salaries are going to go down. That's what it means. This league cannot be sustained. When you consider the actual situation, what these players desire is not sustainable. In any case, I'll stop there. I had to bring this up because that is such a ridiculous amount, and the way the league has handled Caitlin Clark only made me angrier. Have all the games in Iowa, her team, her crowd, all her fans. Get this money, God. It was 2 years, $5 million a year, plus merch and team ownership. We assumed all boats would rise with her in the Big Three. Accept it. You've got 8 games. Accept that $5 million and then enter the W, get drafted. Don't play, get drafted. Get the #1 pick. Like, wait on y'all. It was 2 years, $5 million a year. And plus, we were going to dog breed stuff with merch, and Caitlin Clark doesn't need Ice Cube. Ange doesn't need the Big Three. Sheck's her own way, and the world is observing. So, don't miss a beat. Like, subscribe, and share to keep updated.